the information that we have acquired in our scan in a meaningful fashion if we're considering a migration or an upgrade to devices in our enterprise, doing a license audit, and so forth. Discover gives us a powerful way of doing that. For example, if we wanted to look at workstations that might be eligible for being upgraded to Vista, we could look at a query that looks for the basic criteria that Microsoft has outlined for Vista, that is a ½ gig of memory, has to have a compact disk drive, and has to have 15 megabytes of available disk space on the C drive of the workstation. And doing a quick scan using our pre-built rule for Vista Basic, we see that there are some 10 devices in our enterprise that meet that criteria. And we can look at each of the criteria or properties that are associated with those rules and see that in fact our selected devices have the necessary characteristics that we want to do a Vista Basic migration. We also have the capability of creating a report based on our selected information simply by generating a report. And we can expand or enumerate all of the criteria and all of the values that were both used for selection and the individual properties on the devices that were selected. And then we can select we can either save the report to a file, or we can print the report. We can also email the report if there's a network connection available, which in our example there is not. Another powerful feature of Discover is the Discover configuration tool. Many times a group of servers will be configured in a particular way, configured based on a golden reference image, if you will, or sometimes simply configured based on a single server configuration that was carefully tuned. And having gotten in production, we discover that suddenly one of the servers is not performing as we expect it to. So the first thing that you might want to check is to see if that server is configured properly. Discover allows you to check that very quickly simply by pointing to a target server image. For example, in this case we'll use CTX01, and we can say use the selected device as my standard, and then we simply point it to other target servers that we would like to compare against our reference standard. And we can see here that on a field by field basis, Discover compares the characteristics of these servers and then highlights fields where there are discrepancies. In this case, we're showing a number of hotfixes that are missing on some of the production servers that we expect to have those fixes applied to. We can also create a new configuration or reference standard we can start from a target server. Again, we'll use the same server we were just looking at and say base our standard on that selected device. And we can then go through and select each of the properties that we wish to include or not include. In this case, we'll not include certain characteristics such as chassis type, manufacturer, and model. We may have a number of different hardware manufacturers, but a single set of software criteria that we want to use. And in this case, we'll call this standard our test configuration. And in this case, we're going to use a dynamic reference. And what we mean by that is that we want to say that for all of the properties that we have identified below, going forward on a dynamic basis, use whatever properties CTX01 is set to at any point in time going forward. We could have also said, no, we want to take the properties as they are set right now for CTX01 and freeze those values in time so that going forward we will, no matter how CTX01 changes, we're going to use this configuration image that we have stashed away in the closet. And in this case, that's what we'll do. So we have a new image standard over here called test config that we'll use in Cumbersome going forward.